Hello, I'm Scott Silsby, and today I want to cover a little bit about soapstone and soapstone bowls and how people way back 4,000 or 5,000 years ago learned about soapstone, where it occurs, how it works, and they began making soapstone bowls to cook in. I brought along a sample of soapstone that's pretty typical. It occurred in a fill in a state road near Chain Bridge. You can see a lot of the holes all through it, and these are dissolved minerals in it. Soapstone is composed mostly of talc, the softest mineral, but it can take a lot of fire and heat. It's a soft mineral. I can take my thumbnail and I can scratch it. This is an example of one that I finished many years ago, and we did some cooking in it. And the heat hardens up the soapstone some, and this one I'll lift it up so I can support it a little bit, and you should be able to hear how solid it is. Rings a bit like pottery. That's a good sound to a bowl maker. It means there's no major crack in it. One of the disappointments of working soapstone is that you get almost finished and you find internal cracks and mineral zones and it falls in half. And that's something you just learn to live with. Means extra work. These are based on actual prehistoric samples, which we have lots and lots of samples in the Washington, D.C. area. We'll take a look at a couple of them here. This is pretty typical of a fragment of a partially finished bowl from a quarry area, where this is the base on the bottom, this is the top. It is all sheared off here from a flaw in the stone, but they had already roughed out a lug and a rim area and started to dish it out. At the quarry, they chopped away at it and left big mushroom-shaped mounds of soapstone. Those were cleaved off and then turned upside down, and the inside was hollowed out. This is a fragment of a broken in process steatite bowl from near the Donaldson Farm site. It was probably quarried locally somewhere in the Washington, D.C. area. Has all the wonderful tool marks. And the inside, we can look at the scars and see the type of pick was a little more pointed. It was doing more punching than it was cutting. And those are almost like fingerprints. And sometimes you'll find the chisels that were used to make these near the bowl, and you can lay them up there and almost match them up. You can be pretty assured that was the tool used on that bowl. The big quarries that have been excavated, they found a lot of the tools, the stone tools that were used to quarry it. One type of tool often found is a grooved axe, and these are often just old ones were used just to go in and work on the soapstone, and they had lost a lot of their value as a woodworking tool. These are the remains of little edged chisel-bitted tools that were thought to be used for working soapstone. We found these in association with soapstone bowl chips and soapstone bowls at the Gulf Branch site right below Chain Bridge. This one is a replica of a typical greenstone chisel, and we'll be using this and a couple of others to make a bowl. I first examined this, I did a little bit of looking at it to see, well, where do I have a bowl inside of this, rather than I'm going to make this kind of a bowl. A lot of these were very free form. They made them, they took advantage of the rock they had. So what I'm going to do here is just rough out, and this, I better use my little eye protection. I'm going to round off the outside a little bit by just cutting away at it. We'll capture different stages of manufacturing it. When they worked these things, a lot of these were back during what they call the late Archaic, and they found no evidence to date that the bow and arrow was around during this time period. And that implies that they were probably using the atlatl, which is the throwing spear. They had worked out a system where a lot of them used what they called a banner stone or atlatl weight, and the soapstone was a nice weight to use. And so when they made these bowls, occasionally, one of them would fall in half. They'd have a nice big chunk of it, and they might make a cup out of it. Occasionally you find little pipes, and people think of pipes immediately with tobacco, but most of the evidence shows a lot of it range from utilitarian, where they would attract certain animals, certain odors or certain burning cedars and herbs would attract animals for hunting or who knows what else. And in later periods, some of the tobaccos were used in them as well, and a lot of times they were blends of different things. But little beads, ornamental little beads, and they find some fishing weights. Carve a little groove around the circumference of it. I'm almost ready to go to a finer chisel. And this, when you feel this, this is very talc rich, it's very soapy. So that the good name for it is soapstone. It's not very scientific, but it's probably better than a lot of the scientific names. Before the soapstone bowls, in that era, it's assumed that a lot of cooking was being done in bark containers, which are pretty easy to make. But you still had that problem with when you got through, there was a lot of the potential germs were down in the wood, and you couldn't just throw that on top of a fire. You would have to fill it completely up and do extensive boiling. With these things, you could throw them in the fire. I'm going to switch now to starting to use one of the little chisels that we saw earlier. And I'm keeping in mind that I want to have some little lugs, but I don't want the lugs right up on the edge. So the lugs are going to be set down a little bit.